Today marks 1644 day of daily lessons, daily reflections, and today I want to speak about a very interesting topic. I was reflecting about drifting, and I learned that people have tendency to drift. People have tendency to drift, and that idea came from understanding that when I live my life, when I don't reflect on my day-to-day life, I realize that there's all the things that is added up into that list that is for things to do. And sometimes, because there are so many things to do, even the things that really matters gets out of the plate. And that's why I think that tends to drift needs to be fought all the time. Because I think that every single person have a tendency to drift. And I thought that in every single area, even spiritually, emotionally, mentally, we have a tendency to drift. And that's why we need to intentionally fight against it. I really love that word intention, and we need to really, of course, intention sometimes is not everything, but everything starts from intention. So we'll share at least five things that really I think that was very, very important to understand about drifting and where that is coming from. So number one is that drifting is automatic, while growth is deliberate, is manual. You need to choose that. So knowing that drift is automatic, we need to really remove constantly what drift added to your life or what drift took away from our life. So if we look into every single week, every single month, okay, what was added into my life that is not supposed to be there? Or what was taken away from my life? What needs to be there? And the growth, as I said, it's requires intention and doing something that it potentially you're afraid of. Number two, small compromises compound. Small compromises compound. And I always remember that when I was athlete and preparing competitions for sambo, judo, and I needed to lose some weight, and I need to really get in the best shape ever. And people used to ask like, "Oh, just one training, or just one snack, just one." But I always said no because I knew that goal is important for me. Progress is important for me because I knew that if I allow once, I will open the floodgates. It's a crack. Because if there is a crack in a massive dam, that dam will break down and all the water will flush through. And I think that we always need to ask, okay, when if our life is drifting, where do I compromise even small things? Because those things will compound. And this is extremely important. Number three, your environment does more shaping than your intentions. Your environment does more shaping than your intentions. I realized that as well. I didn't understand how much environment is influencing me until just recently, probably last less than a half a year. I realized how much environment have really shifted me, drifted me from the things that I'm supposed to do. So I had a great, massive, good intentions. I had those. I had intentions to grow. I had intentions to do things, but the environment made it so much more difficult. Because sometimes we have intention to grow, but because we didn't reflect at what we're actually doing on a daily basis, we are not growing. We're not going out improving, and sometimes we're even going backwards. Number four, comfort accelerates drift. So we know that growth is intentional, is deliberate. That's not the word. So that means we need to understand that if we actually have comfort, and it's interesting thing because when you pursue growth, at the beginning that you start something, it might be challenging. It will be might challenging. So for a month, you maybe will go through challenging month. But after the month, you really did an amazing, tremendous job. And the things that was challenging now it became comfortable. And now you, after a month, you start doing things that is actually comfort. And this is a very dangerous place to be, and this is a place where person starts to drift. That comfortable becomes more and more comfortable, and after three months of doing the same thing, person becomes even more comfortable. Because after a month, when you realize that okay, like this thing that it was challenging before for the older version of me, now the things that was challenging is no more challenging. That's why growth is always reflecting and say like, okay, like all the things that was in the past challenging now is no more. And I need to really intentionally build new challenges that I could still grow. Otherwise, I'm drifting. I'm going backwards. Number five, the last thing that um, I would love to mention is that most people don't notice drift until they don't like where they end up. And this is a very interesting thing because people say that the thermostat and the thermos, and when it shows that the temperature goes down, and maybe you have set certain place where we're supposed to room supposed to heat up again. So when it reaches 15 degrees, okay, then the heater turns on and it heats up to 20. And as it can drift, sometimes goes all the way to our lower standard, all the way to our lower standard. That means that finances, our the way how we look, emotions, mental relationships, so it all the way goes to our lower standard. It's drifting all the way until we intentionally interfere with the drift and say like, hey, wow, my automatic drift was leading to very bad outcome, but I'm breaking that cycle of the drift and really allocating better actions to really not to end up there. Now, of course, that breaking that automatic drift will be constant, but it's necessary. Otherwise, we'll end up where we don't want to be. And that's extremely important. So, and again, this is could be we can ask, okay, where are we avoiding something? Because that's the lead drift. What kind of standards we reduce, and what we're supposed to do? How are we supposed to fight this drift? And it's probably quite simple in a sense. Sometimes the most important part is to reflect on it, build awareness, understand yourself better, because we need to really have define direction clearly. Because when you know your life direction very clearly, very specific, exactly where you're gonna go. Now, when things happen in life, when you really reflect on your life, you know exactly that you're drifting. If you said that this is my direction, this is my path, all other paths will be drifting. If you do not know the direction where you're going, even when you're drifting, you don't know that you're drifting because you don't know exactly where you're going. Your path is not clear yet, it's too vague. So for a person who is actually doesn't have very clear direction, drifting is just casual thing because they never knew where they're going anyway. So we need to really audit our habits weekly to understand, okay, what did they add this week? What did they take away this week? The faster we catch something, the faster we're able to remove it or add it. Of course, raise our standards faster than our comfort grows. What I mean by that is that I mentioned earlier that when we challenge ourselves, the things that was challenging, they become no challenging anymore. So that means we need to really raise our standards, raise our the things that we need to do, challenge ourselves more before it becomes comfortable. That's also a faster way to grow. Because if the things that was very challenging now becomes very comfortable, that means probably we wasted a little bit our time because we were able to grow a little bit faster. Change environment if needed. Of course, it's that when you look into it and realize that your environment is not good and taking away your life source, life energy, that's sometimes time to remove yourself from that environment. And the last one that I make decisions earlier than feels comfortable. Make decisions earlier than feels comfortable because again, this is one of the most important thing. Sometimes we feel that we are not ready, that something is missing, that I will work on something for a little bit longer and then I will do something. But that again, it's one of the things that drifts us from the direction and the way how we're supposed to do. We are already ready for the path, but for some reason we go thinking, okay, I need to go around this path to get back to the path. And making decisions is extremely important. So drift is what happens when you stop paying attention to your life. And as I said, one of the most important key aspect of drift, it is automatic. Everyone have it, just some people are reflecting on it on a constant basis, on a daily basis sometimes even, and they don't allow that automatic to kick in. So I hope you choose win and see you tomorrow.